Today I thought I'd do a video on the ideal deer hunting cartridge. Now a lot of you guys have your own ideas, so do I. A lot of you guys make bad decisions. I have also, but at this time we're going to do what I call the favorite or my ideal deer hunting cartridge for the Midwest. There are long action rifles, short action rifles, and more short action rifles. Bolt actions, lever actions. Long action cartridges are going to have cartridges about this long. Short action cartridges are going to have cartridges about this long. So as you might expect, a rifle with a long action cartridge in it is going to be longer. Guess what? Typically barrels are longer. Longer means heavier and not as easily maneuvered inside of a blind or carried around in the field. So we're going to start out with 243. We're going to go to 257, 6.5 Creedmoor, 277 millimeter 08 Remington, or 7 millimeter Remington Magnum, 300 Winchester short Magnum, and the 300 Winchester Magnum. We're going to go through those, and I'll tell you what I think of all of them. 243, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Favorite cartridge is the 308 Winchester. It's mild recoiling. It's a very fast bullet, typically somewhere around the 90 grain range, 87 grains, something like that. Very fast bullet, so time of flight of the bullet from the muzzle to the target sizzles along pretty quickly. This is where deer hunting cartridges actually start. Is it my recommendation? Probably not. For people who are really recoil sensitive, like young people or old people, it'll get the job done. Anything smaller, like the 223, no, the sectional density of those bullets is so poor that driving through deer-sized game, putting holes on the inlet and the outlet, even on a broadside deer, are not very likely. And to get a good blood trail, and you will need a blood trail to follow probably most of the deer you shoot with a 243, unless you're one of those headshot people, or you happen to accidentally spine them somehow. You're going to be blood trailing. You want a hole completely through them so you get a good blood trail. So blood trail is important. In the 243, likelihood of that doing it isn't going to do it. But always remember this. If you put a hole through the lungs on an elephant with your 223, that elephant is going to die. I wouldn't do that to any animal, but whatever. So, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll go to the 257 Roberts. Parent cartridge is a 757 millimeter Mauser. Great cartridge, wonderful cartridge. Has been used by, there was even an African hunter many years ago that used to use the 757 on elephants. So it's killed just about any kind of animal you can think of, and probably has. You can jump off a very high cliff also, but should you? No, probably not. But a great round. 7 millimeter. I'm sorry, the 257 was a 757 neck down to quarter bore, which is a lot of people call the quarter bore the magic cartridge. It's a great cartridge. It's got good sectional density. You get good penetration. Great cartridge for people who are more recoil sensitive. It's a very good cartridge. Will take deer farther away than you should try. For most hunters, 50 yards is about all they should shoot. For someone who actually uses a rifle and understands a rifle and how to shoot it, I think responsible hunting ends somewhere right around 300 yards for someone who's good with one. Where I hunt, 100-yard shot's a long shot. But on a regular basis, my wife and I hunt deer in the Midwest, and that's what we, 100-yard shot's about as far as we usually go. However, with this iron-sighted 1960 built Model 94 Winchester, both my wife and I have shot deer at 150 plus yards, as proved by a laser rangefinder. So let's go on to the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 260 Remington. Fairly identical rounds. Don't really need to try and delineate between one or the other. They're both pretty comparable. Great cartridge, wonderful cartridge, I love it. But you guys seem to think, or a lot of you seem to think it's magic. It's a fantasy world. It's a great hunting cartridge for deer at extremely long ranges, even past 300 yards. But should you? No. Once you get past 300 yards, for most hunters, you're not very accurate in your time of flight from the bullet. Leaving the muzzle to the target, that animal can take a step, and now you've got a wounded animal. That's not responsible. That's not hunting, that's sniping. So I completely disagree with a lot of you guys who think you're snipers. Go do it with paper or steel. Don't do it on those really great animals that we are in care of. 6.5 Creedmoor, it's short action, fast recycle time between shots. It's you can get them in 20-inch barrels if you want, so you got a shorter, lighter rifle that you can maneuver in a blind and carry all day, and it won't wear you out like something like this long-action Remington Model 700. This one is in 30-06, which is an absolutely wonderful round also. The 6.5 Creedmoor with what is Hornady's target round, 147 grain bullet. That doesn't come out of supersonic speed until about 1,400 yards. That's a long ways. Once a bullet breaks that barrier between supersonic and subsonic, the turbulence behind the bullet starts to increase, and the pitch and the yaw of the bullet, it becomes more abundant and affects the accuracy. So supersonic to about 1,400 yards. The bad part of this cartridge is that so many of you people think it's magic, and it is not. What was next here? Yeah, 270 Winchester. Parent cartridge, 30-06, great cartridge. 270, wonderful cartridge. It's got good sectional density. It's got great ballistic coefficients. So ballistic coefficients, the ability of the bullet to retain its original velocity being perfect would be one. So everything is below that. 6.5 cartridges are long and slim, and they buck wind really well front to back, side to side, and so they slip through the wind really well, and their ballistic coefficients are very high, some of them even exceeding 0.7. Sectional density, because it's a long for caliber bullet, has excellent sectional density, so it drive through its target very well. 270 Winchester is, even with 140 grain bullet, would you call it a long for caliber bullet? Maybe marginally, but it is a great round. You can't talk about the 270 Winchester without bringing up Jack O'Connor, the father of the 270, as he's known. Born in the early 1900s, he was alive when he was a boy. Westerners such as Geronimo, Annie Oakley, Bat Masterson, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Wyatt Earp were still alive. The guy had history accessible to him. However, he didn't have the internet, did he? But Jack O'Connor loved the 270 probably more than any other rifle. He also, by the way, had great things to say about 30-06. Me, I'm a short action guy. It's easier to carry around. It's lighter weight. That one happens to be in a 308. It's a Remington Model 7 CDL in 308. Absolutely wonderful cartridge. Anyway, 270 is long action. I'm used to touchscreen, so I'm trying to do this. Long action, long barrel, usually around 22 inches up to 24 inches. It's heavier, harder to get into action, not as quick. The Ugly has almost a cult-like following by a lot of people, which don't think anything else is worthy. 7mm 8, underrated cartridge by many. Parent cartridge is the 308 Winchester. 7mm 08 is fantastic round, carries a high level of energy for a very long distance, longer and farther away than any responsible hunter should shoot. Like I said, 300 yards is probably where a responsible hunter would probably not shoot anymore. I know responsible hunters that have shot farther, but they also don't like shooting those great long distances. 7mm 8 is mild recoiling. The 284 diameter bullet is just a fantastic one for high ballistic coefficients, high sectional density, great round, and it's a short action round, so it's a great round. 7mm Remington Magnum. I know I'm going to upset a lot of people by telling you this gun would absolutely positively never be my first choice. I've used them. They go bang very loud. Their barrels are usually 24 inches plus. It's got a very long action. You use an extreme amount of powder to get that bullet going, sizzling down that range at probably 3,100 feet per second with a 140 grain bullet. But I can get a 150 grain bullet out of a 308 traveling along at just over 2,800 feet per second on my chronograph. I use about half the powder, not really, but a lot less powder when I reload. Why would I give up the short action 308 for a very long, heavy rifle with a cartridge that requires 24 to 26 inch barrels? Just not going to do it. But it will deliver a killing blow at very long ranges, farther away than you should shoot. 30-30, that's right here. And right here. This is a 307 Winchester, not a 308, 307 Winchester. It's their big bore model. Was only chambered in 307 for 4 years, from 1982 to 1986. It comes close to 308 ballistics, not quite. It's close enough. I love that rifle. I've shot, oh gosh, a lot of deer with that rifle. My wife has, in the last 4 years or so, decided that it was her deer hunting rifle, so she uses it and has killed. One year she got 3 deer with it out of the same herd. She only had 3 cartridges. Otherwise she'd probably gone for more. But 30-30, great round. The very first smokeless cartridge developed in 1895 for the 1894 Winchester. Smokeless cartridge meant higher velocities, shorter barrels needed to reach higher velocities even, and not nearly as corrosive. So the 30-30, when it came out, it awed the hunting and shooting world with its great velocity killing ability, and what they were referring to as extreme ranges. It's a 150-yard deer rifle. Like I say, my wife and I have both done that and more with these iron sights on this rifle, but we shoot a lot more than most people do, a great deal more. The bad is that most people aren't buying lever actions anymore, not like they used to. So the prices of lever action rifles have skyrocketed because they don't have the production that they now have in the plastic stocked rifles with bolt actions. So that's why the price has gone up on lever action rifles. And those plastic stocked rifles, running $350 new, they're good rifles. Let's see, we're going to go past the 308. We'll go to the 30-06 Springfield. Absolutely beautiful round. In 1903, the 30 caliber military round was released as a 3003 or a 30 caliber military round. In 1906, they decided to shorten the neck on the 30-06, so they shortened this distance from the shoulder to the top of the neck. And instead of a 220 grain round nose bullet traveling at about 2,300 feet per second, they started loading a 150 grain bullet, which was leaving the muzzle at 2,900 feet per second. And when the military started deleting some of their inventory of those Springfield rifles, the civilians were buying them up and using them for hunting because they figured, oh, hey, that 30-06, because it was, remember, it was changed in 1906, was a fantastic hunting cartridges, and it is. You get 55 grain bullets for it up to 220, I don't know, maybe there's a 240. Seems to me somebody said something about that once, but I don't have anything to verify that. Anyway, so the 30-06, great round, but it's long action, long barrel, heavy, carry around, great thumper though. 300 Winchester short Magnum, as long as you're using 150 grain bullets, maybe 165s, you're going to get the same performance as the 300 Win Mag. You go to heavier bullets, and those heavier bullets don't get wider, do they? Because they're through 8, they get longer. And now to get that cartridge to fit into a magazine, you have to, so if you want it to fit in here, you have to push the bullet inside the case more. Now when you push the bullet inside the case, you lose powder capacity. So the 300 Winchester short Magnum, you got to be careful about the length of your cartridge because you're going to take up powder capacity and it's going to reduce your velocity. 300 Winchester Magnum, very great cartridge. Was a pair of cartridges, a 370 Holland & Holland Magnum. They blew it out, shortened it up, changed the shoulder angle, and necked it down to 308. Fast, hard hitting, great cartridge. The military uses it still to this day for sniping. It's a great round, but there again, it's a long action. Same thing like the 7mm Remington Magnum. It goes boom very loud. It uses a lot of powder that you don't need. Anything past 300 yards is pretty much proof of stupidity. So if a more efficient cartridge like a 7mm 08 or a 6.5 Creedmoor or the 308 will do the job easily at that range, why use the big boomers? So now let's go back to the 308. As you might guess, my choice for the ideal deer hunting cartridge in the Midwest. It's has many offspring, as we just talked about. 7mm 08, 6.5 Creedmoor, a bunch of them actually. So with 150, 165 grain bullets, cartridge will carry 1,200 foot-pounds of energy, which is what the experts say it takes to take the world out from underneath a deer. To 500 yards. I'm not going to shoot at a deer at 500 yards away, and neither should you. That's sniping, not hunting. And your chances of success greatly are reduced every yard or so. The deer is farther away than that. It's just crazy. It's insane. Short action, 20-inch barrels, like on this Remington Model 7. Great shooter. If I do my part, which even at 62 years old, I'm usually doing my part. I get some MOA 3-shot groups with that pretty much any time I want. So the nice thing about the 308 is it's a great round for the Midwest where ranges are shorter. Guess what? The surprise is the 308 will actually work out west too, where you can take those 300-yard shots or more if you're inclined, and do well with the 308. So the surprising thing of it is, in my book, the 308 Winchester, which outproduces the 6.5 Creedmoor, which I know it's going to upset a lot of you folks, but I recently witnessed a ballistics gelatin test on 6.5 versus 308, and you would think because of the high ballistic coefficient and the great sectional density of the 6.5 caliber bullet, it would have penetrated the ballistics gelatin farther than the 308. That was what I was expecting to see. It didn't happen. The 308 actually went, it was less than an inch farther than the 6.5 Creedmoor. But here's the thing I've been preaching for years now. The 6.5 versus the 308 wound channel. If you looked at the ballistics gelatin, the 6.5 Creedmoor's wound channel looked like half the width of a 308 Winchester. It was significant. But remember, if you poke a hole through the lungs of any animal, that animal is going to die. What I find a lot of times on deer-sized game with this or this, you put a hole through the lungs on that animal, you've got about a 30 to 40 yard retrieval. So the winner, 308 Winchester. You guys are all mad about the 6.5 Creedmoor. Sorry. I don't believe in magic. You have a good day.